They're common enough in the South. I've seen them numerous around the lumber camps of Georgia, but I never before heard of any this far north. They must be strays. You've described perfectly our nearest equivalent to a branch of these birds called in Europe Pharaoh's chickens. But if they're coming to the Limberlost, they'll have to drop Pharaoh and become Freckles chickens, like the remainder of the birds, won't they? Or are they too odd and ugly to interest you?" "Oh no, not at all!" cried Freckles, bursting into pure brogue in his haste. "I don't know as I'd be calling them exactly pretty, and they do move like a rocking horse loping, but they're so big and fearless. They have a fine color for blackbirds, and their feet and beaks seem so strong. You never saw anything so keen as their eyes. And fly! Why, just think, sir, they must be flying miles straight up, for they were out of sight completely when the feather fell. I don't suppose I've a chicken in the swamp that can go as close heaven as those big black fellows. And then—" Freckles' voice dragged, and he hesitated. "Then what?" interestedly urged McLean. "He was loving her so," answered Freckles in a hushed voice. "I know it looked awful funny, and I laughed and told on him, but if I'd taken time to think I don't believe I'd have done it. You see, I've seen such a little bit of loving in me life. You easily can be understanding that at the home it was every day the old story of neglect and desertion. Always people that didn't even care enough for their children to keep 'em. So you see, sir, I had to like him for trying so hard to make her know how he loved her. Of course they're only birds, but if they're caring for each other like that, why, it's just the same as people, ain't it?" Freckles lifted his brave, steady eyes to the Boss. "If anybody loved me like that, Mr. McLean, I wouldn't be spending any time on how they looked or moved. All I'd be thinking of would be how they felt toward me. If they will stay, I'll be caring as much for them as any chickens I have. If I did laugh at them, I thought he was just fine." The face of McLean was a study, but the honest eyes of the boy were so compelling that he found himself answering: "You are right, Freckles. He's a gentleman, isn't he? And the only real chicken you have. Of course he'll remain. The Limberlost will be paradise for his family. And now, Freckles, what has been the trouble all spring? You've done your work as faithfully as anyone could ask, but I can't help seeing that there's something wrong. Are you tired of your job?" "I love it," answered Freckles. "It'll almost break me heart when the gang comes and begins tearing up the swamp and scaring away me chickens." "Then what is the trouble?" insisted McLean. "I think, sir, it's been books," answered Freckles. "You see, I didn't realize it myself until the bullfrog told me this morning. I hadn't ever even heard about a place like this. Anyway, I wasn't understanding how it would be if I had. Being among these beautiful things every day, I got so anxious like to be knowing and naming them that it got to be eaten into me and went and made me near sick, when I was well as I could be. Of course I learned to read, write, and figure some in school, but there was nothing there or in any of the city I ever got to see that would make a fellow even be dreaming of such interesting things as there are here. I've seen the parks, but good Lord, they ain't even beginning to be in it with the Limberlost. It's all new and strange to me. I don't know a thing about any of it. The bullfrog told me to find out. Plain as day, and books are the only way, ain't they?" "Of course," said McLean, astonished at himself for his heartfelt relief. He had not guessed until that moment what it would have meant to him to have Freckles give up. "You know enough to study out what you want yourself, if you have the books, don't you?" "I'm pretty sure I do," said Freckles. "I learned all I'd the chance at in the home, and me schooling was good as far as it went. Wouldn't let you go past 14, you know. I always did me sums perfect and loved me history books. I had them almost by heart. I never could get me grammar to suit them. They said it was just born in me to go wrong talking, and if it hadn't been, I suppose I would have picked it up from the other children. But I'd the best voice of any of them in the home or at school. I could knock 'em all out singing. I was always leader in the home, and once one of the superintendents gave me car fare and let me go into the city and sing in a boys' choir. The master said I'd the sweetest voice of them all until it got rough like, then he made me quit for a while, but he said it'd be coming back by now, and I'm railly thinking it is, sir, for I've tried it on the line a bit of late, and it seems to be going smooth again and lots stronger. That and me chickens have been all the company I've been having, and it'll be all I'll want if I can have some books and learn the real names of things, where they come from, and why they do such interesting things. It's been fretting me more than I knew to be shut up here among all these wonders and not knowing a thing. I want to ask you what some books would cost me, and if you'd be having the goodness to get me the right ones. I think I have enough money." Freckles offered his account book, and the boss studied it gravely. "You needn't touch your account, Freckles," he said. $10 from this month's pay will provide you everything you need to start on. I will write a friend in Grand Rapids today to select you the very best and send them at once." Freckles' eyes were shining. "Never owned a book in me life," he said. "Even me school books were never mine. Lord, I used to wish I could have just one of them for my very own. Won't it be fun to see me Sawbird and me little yellow fella looking at me from the pages of a book, and their real names and all about them printed alongside? How long will it be taking, sir?" "10 days should do it nicely," said McLean. Then, seeing Freckles' lengthening face, he added, "I'll have Duncan bring you a 10-bushel store box the next time he goes to town. He can haul it to the west entrance and set it up wherever you want it. You can put in your spare time filling it with the specimens you find until the books come. Then you can study out what you have. I suspect you could collect specimens that I could send to naturalists in the city and sell for you. Things like that winged creature this morning. I don't know much in that line, but it must have been a moth, and it might have been rare. I've seen 'em by the thousand in museums, and in all nature I don't remember rarer coloring than their wings. I'll order you a butterfly net and box and show you how scientists pin specimens. Possibly you can make a fine collection of these swamp beauties. It'll be all right for you to take a pair of different moths and butterflies, but I don't want to hear of your killing any birds. They're protected by heavy fines." McLean rode away, leaving Freckles staring aghast. Then he saw the point and smiled. Standing on the trail, he twirled the feather and thought over the morning. "Well, if life ain't getting to be worth living," he said wonderingly. "Biggest streak of luck I ever had. 'Bout time something was coming my way, but I wouldn't ever thought anybody could strike such magnificent prospects through only a falling feather." End of chapter 3. Wherein a feather falls and a soul is born.